Hello, everyone. Was interrupted there by a Netcentric direct energy weapon. All right, so back. This is part two of Warfare Domain Horizon. Okay, hopefully this will gave you a chance to refill your adult beverage and to make sure that your third or fourth pen has ink in it. Okay, so getting back to the subject where we last left off is that we're operating within a mapped strategic hamlet. Um, did in That's what NATO did in Vietnam. That's what NATO did in Guyana. This is what NATO did in Rwanda. This is what they do in Europe and what they call the Pacific Theater, the Atlantic Theater, the European Theater, the East Indies. They map every single centimeter on planet Earth, and it's all been mapped down to the millimeter today. And within that, we have human beings wandering around clueless. We have been raised with these false narratives that there was an American Revolution, that it was about sovereignty, independence, and self governance, as well as liberty and freedom, like religious freedom. There's absolutely no such thing as religious freedom, and there's absolutely no such thing as freedom of speech, and there is absolutely no such thing as the right to bear arms. Okay, those are punchlines to a joke. You know that the LDS Mormon Church and the Church of Scientology and the Buddhists and the Lutherans and the Holy Roman Catholic Church and the Vatican and the dope of a pope, whoever it may be, Francis or Leo or Benedict, matters not. They all have the same universal delusion. They believe in COVID as a pandemic. They believe in vaccination, mandatory vaccinations, as many as possible. They believe in climate action. They believe in zero carbon footprint. They believe in the mantras promulgated in Geneva Global Governance conference rooms in and around Switzerland. Most of the planning is done in Geneva. However, they do have planning meetings, as you know, each January and a ski trip in Davos, which is near Liechtenstein. Davos is near Liechtenstein. It's also near Zug, which is about 22 miles south of Zurich. I'm sure you've heard of Zurich. Zurich is the home of digital banking. Zug is the home of programmable money. Programmable money. That means obedience compliance tokens. It's not really money because it's not free. It's not free and it's not anonymous. It's the opposite. It's real ID verified money. Real ID verified money based on biometrics, DNA, neuromodulation. It is not an accident that Jennifer Doudna's CRISPR Therapeutics is headquartered in Zug, Switzerland, which is home to cryptocurrency, which is home to CBDC, central bank digital currency, because that's part of the control structure of warfare domain horizon. In other words, they're going to control every human being on this planet, both your thoughts in your head. They're going to disable your tenets of thinking. Your cognition will be disabled, and you'll be put on a tokenized system of obedience. You'll also be herded into a FEMA camp by a hurricane, tornado, snowstorm, mudslide, or firestorm, which will be created by NATO military forces using the aluminum chalk to both ignite and inferno, kind of like Pacific Palisades wasn't. That was a very poor example, more like Sierra Madre was, or Sonoma, or Napa, or Yolo counties were. Those are legit fires where we suffered thousands of homes damaged. That didn't happen in Pacific Palisades. I think it was 800 homes were destroyed. 800 homes out of 9,000 homes. Yawn. Call me when something important happens, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't have his home burned down. Randy Newman didn't lose his home, and James Wood didn't lose his, despite what Megyn Kelly lied to you that he lost his home. That was a bald-faced lie for which Megyn Kelly still has not apologized for. Anyway, that's all part of the domain of the full spectrum dominance. FSD, full spectrum dominance. In other words, Geneva Global Governance uses entertainment, sports entertainment, pornography, films, television, radio entertainment, musical entertainment, the Tavistock Institute, the Frankfurt School. They use every form of entertainment, from stage to memes to Zsa Zsa Gabor walking up and down Rodeo Drive back in the day when I met her. Disneyland, a pseudo Disneyland, like the Mayfair district of London, um, parts of, we used to be part of West Hollywood. They had crisis actors, they had beatniks, then we had hippies, then we had yuppies, or we had yippies. We had yippies, which was a hippie who voted, was a yippie. Then we had yuppies, and now we have Gen Z. And now everything's boarded up and closed. All right, that's all part of Geneva Global Governance. They use entertainment as a Svengali trance to pacify and control you. They also use drugs, ecstasy, LSD, psilocybins, products tested by Timothy Leary on Ted Kaczynski, for example, products tested by the Hollywood influencers of the day, from Neil Young to Carlos Santana smoking a doobie, to Janis Joplin, to John Belushi, for example, to Chris Farley, for another example. Think of all the Hollywood entertainers who had drug problems, including Elvis Presley. He didn't, he didn't drink alcohol, but he took all kinds of sophisticated pharmaceutical products to go to sleep and to wake up and go on stage and perform at the International Hotel in Las Vegas. Yes, he did. Global governance out of Geneva uses entertainment, they use drugs, they use terrorism, they use gladio murder, they use mass murder, they use bomb explosions in subways or piazzas in Italy, and they also use weather warfare. Okay, and that's all 100% controlled by military, which is why the sheriff's department never makes an arrest of anyone who actually killed Sharon Tate or Jose Menendez or the Dr. Victor Oda family and his secretary, Dorothy Caldwaller. There was never an arrest of the correct people who killed them. It was a team of people who killed them. They arrested an unemployed 24-year-old automobile mechanic and convicted him of it after they gave him a Charlie, basically is the Russell Brand hairdo. They make Russell Brand look like Jesus Christ. They did that with Charlie Manson, and they did that with the person they convicted of murdering 5 people and a kitty cat over at 999 North Rodeo Gulch in Soquel, Santa Cruz County. Back in 1970, in October 1970, we had the murder of the Dr. Victor Oda family by a person who was presented to us as looking like Jesus Christ, right? That Jesus could kill people, like Russell Brand, who's a complete and utter fraud. Russell Brand, a person to be ignored and deleted. Russell Brand, along with a couple of 10,000 other cohorts in the media, from Anthony Napolitano to Dr. Victor Hansen to Jeffrey Sachs to Seymour Hersh to Andrea Mitchell to Leslie Stahl to Cato Kalin to Tom Zinner to just go down the list of every single person you see as a podcast. Tucker Carlson, Stupider Peters, got to be stupid to follow Stupid Peters, right? All right. So anyway, you get the picture, is that Alex Jones and Joe Rogan are as fake as Russell Brand is, which means completely fake. It's as fake as Anthony Napolitano is, or Bernie Sanders, or Chuck Schumer are, or Rand Paul, or Ron DeSantis, or Ron Paul. Fake. Like Donald Trumpster, like Screw Your Freedom, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like mixed martial arts, wrestling, scripted, fake. Like NBA basketball, doped and fake and rigged. NBA basketball, the New York Knicks, fake. Are they really athletes on drugs? Yes, they really are. But the games are rigged. It was decided probably a year ago that the Knicks were going to win this championship. The Knicks They just showed up, right? And then the refs do the rest. All right. And sometimes the players have to contribute too by shooting threes instead of dribbling out the clock, which is what San Antonio Spurs did to assist the Knicks with their pre-programmed championship fake fake 53 waiting for a fake championship for New York, which is a Hunger Game. You do know that New York is circling the drain, right? Circling the drain. And I don't think an NBA championship is going to save New York from flock cameras, real ID verified, and Geneva global governance because Geneva runs New York City, not the mayor and not the governor of New York. They don't run New York. Switzerland runs New York. All right. So if you vote in an election, then you're a slave on the reservation. If you vote, if you pledge allegiance to your country, any country, whatever country you think you're a member of, if you pledge your allegiance, then you are a obedient slave on the reservation. If you stand for the national anthem, if you go to an NBA game like Ben Stiller or Taylor Swift does, and you stand along with Spike Lee for the national anthem, that means that you are a slave on the reservation. If you stand for the national anthem, God help you if you sing it, if you know the words to it. If you are excited about the Olympic Games every 4 years or the Winter Games every 4 years, then you're owned because there are no nations. You can't have an Olympics with a bunch of Hunger Games. Just the Hunger Games. It has nothing to do with any Russians or Chinese or Yugoslavia or Slovakia or Slovenia or Germany or France or Italy. Those are all Hunger Games on a map in Geneva, right? Greece is a Hunger Game. Italy is a Hunger Game. Sudan is a Hunger Game. Iran and United Arab Emirates are Hunger Games. If you believe in national pride, you're delusional. You should double up on your adult beverages. If you believe in patriotism, you have lost your marbles. Your cognition has been disabled. Mission accomplished by Geneva. They own you. You have no patriotism unless you want to live in Geneva or you want to live in Zug or Bern or Basel, or maybe you want to live in Lugano, which is nice. I've stayed overnight in Lugano, Switzerland. But it's really, and they in Lugano. They speak French in Geneva, and then they speak German pretty much everywhere else. All right. So what I wanted to tell you is that part of the warfare domain horizon is this business of mind control through indoctrination of children from birth, that they teach you that you're a citizen, you have a birth certificate, that you're a sovereign person inside of a sovereign nation. That's all completely false. You're an owned slave the moment you're born, your property, your chattel. And now that since COVID, we've pulled the curtain back because every child has to have 87 vaccinations by the time they're 18, which means that they're real ID tagged like a farm animal. This program goes by many names: transhuman genocide, which is posthumanism. I call it posthumanism. The Geneva never wants to call anything what it really is. It's posthumanity, means kill off all the humans, and you're left with cyborgs and robots. That is the plan. It's a nation or a world of Hunger Games of cyborgs working with the artificial intelligence robots. That's the plan. And the rest of it is signs and symbols rule the world. Okay, there's so many signs. There's Masonic numbers. There's the pyramids, which come in the shape of a space needle, like in Seattle, Washington. That's the shape of an obelisk. It's called the Eye of Cleopatra on the Victoria Embankment on the west side of the River Thames in London. Right outside of New Scotland Yard is an obelisk, a skinny pyramid, essentially. That's a chain of command. And then Pope Leo looks out his window and he sees an 83-foot obelisk in the center of St. Peter's Square in the Vatican City State. that is a chain of commands for Pope Leo to obey. And he does. He believes in vaccination. He believes in climate change. He believes in one world order. We are one is Pope Leo's personal mantra. We are one. That's all right. We are not nations. We are one, right? We are one. We are one obedient society of slaves. That's Pope Leo. He wants to disable the AI, but he doesn't have a problem with ring cameras, flock cameras. He's okay with real ID. He's okay with crypto programmable money. He's okay with neuromodulation of human beings to damage their cellular structure and to augment it, to gene splice it. Pope Leo is all right with innovative genomic Frankenstein monster research, like Jamie Kate does, who's the second husband of Jennifer Doudna, who has offices in Zug, Switzerland, and in London, in Boston, in Mission Bay, San Francisco, and of course has her own laboratory at University of California, Berkeley, located at 2151 Berkeley Way, right off Phoebe Hearst Avenue, next to the Chancellor's Mansion there, not far from the Founders Rock and where Ted Kaczynski mailed 2 Unibombs to the Corey Hall building. All right, so this is all integrated into our society, into the fabric of our society. Our fabric is completely infiltrated with enemy agents. And in the media, you know them as Oliver Stone, Sean Stone. You know them as Juan Saville. You know them as Whitney Webb. You know them as Glenn Greenwald. You know them as Maria Z. You know them as Joe Rogan, Alex Jones. You know them as Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather, B. Bowling. You knew them as Chet Huntley and David Brinkley, for example. Um, you knew them as these clowns that you saw whenever you turned the TV on, which included John Wayne and Ronald Reagan. Yes, that did. They were included as influencers as well. So let me read you another example of signs and symbols. So in mathematics, for example, we use Greek symbols to express meaning. There's a Greek infinity, okay? And in the case of mathematics, we call the symbol as follows. The infinity symbol is called lemniscat in mathematics, but originally it comes from Greek. Now, in Greek philosophy, the infinity sign, which in case you don't know, is the figure 8 laid on its side. That's the infinity sign. That's the transhumanity sign. That's the post-humanity sign, is infinity. Infinity means boundless. It means a number greater than the largest finite number that you can think of. So take the biggest number like they've spent on chemtrail dumpings the last 20 years, then multiply it by a similar number again, and you wouldn't even be close to infinity. Infinity means beyond comprehension, means undefined. Undefined. Any number divided by 0 will give you infinity, which is the Greek symbol of the figure 8 laid on its side, known as lemniscat. Now, in Greek philosophy, it goes by aporon, 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 or uperon. All right, that's in philosophy the term infinity. But for purposes of today's video, I want you to think in terms of infinity being beyond humanism, boundless beyond humanism, which humanism is considered a finite number of years that a human can live. And infinity means boundless. There are no limits. Limitless. Limitless means that. While modern sideways figure 8 shapes were introduced by John Wallis in the year 1655, it is believed that Wallis may have derived it from lowercase Greek letter omega. Omega is like a W, looks like a W. And all John Wallis may have done is closed up the roof of the W to create the infinity sign, known as lemniscat. It is believed that Wallis did this. Then the last letter of the Greek alphabet, which symbolizes the ultimate or the end, which conceptually will align with infinity, will become. So you have infinity and omega operating together. And historical and symbolic context is that in ancient Greek philosophy, the concept of infinity was expressed as apeiron, meaning unbounded or limitless, used by philosophers um, and to describe the infinite nature of the universe. The lemmascot shape itself has been linked to mystical and symbolic interpretations, such as a serpent eating out its own tail, a serpent eating its tail, or representing internal cycles and endlessness. Endlessness, limitless, unbounded. In mathematics, the infinity symbol is used in limits and summations, and the calculus to indicate values that grow without bound. Philosophically, it represents the infinite potential of the universe and the limitless scope of human knowledge. Wow. Especially if you're a paid member of this channel, you have limitless knowledge. The symbol of infinity also has been adopted in modern design, art, spiritual context to convey eternity, continuity, and interconnectedness. And sadly, it has been linked with Anne Heche and Richard Glass, whose last selfie photo was taken with the infinity sign directly behind their heads at the Richard Glass hair design in Venice, California, at Venice Beach, where Arnold Schwarzenegger lifted weights on steroids just outside the parking lot behind the Richard Glass hair design, which, by the way, is all boarded up and closed today. Just in time hair design, just in time limitless infinity transhumanity sign, right? It's also known as soul catcher. That's part of warfare domain horizon is they want to catch your soul and they want to hook you up to the cloud with real ID verification and as many jabs as possible. The Omicron variant of COVID, bird flu, monkeypox, mad cow disease, flu, annual flu shot, semi-annual flu shot, whatever. That's all part of signs and symbols rule our world. If you're stupid enough to not get it, if you don't know what an obelisk is and you don't know where your obelisks are in your town, if you live in Los Angeles and you don't know where your obelisk is, you're mentally deranged. If you live in New York City or Manhattan and you don't know where your obelisks are, you've lost your marbles. Everybody should know where their obelisks are. They're all over the place. Wherever there's a banking district, you'll find one or more obelisks. In the Vatican City, there's only one obelisk, and you can't miss it. It's in St. Peter's Square. It's in the center of the square. It's 83 feet tall. The city of Rome has 13 obelisks. I said 13, unity amongst Masons. You need to know the number 13 means unity amongst people of temple worshippers, of the occultists, of Egyptian mysticism, and you should know that 33 is the highest level of the obelisk, meaning obedience, chain of command, that you have achieved the highest level of obedience, number 33. And that's the date that John Kennedy was killed, because he was disobedient. So they killed him on a 33. November 22nd, 1963 is a 33 day, right? And Donald Trump's fake assassination was on July 13th because Donald Trump's part of the unity of Masons. Yes, he is. And he wears a red tie, doesn't he? He wears a red tie. And Joey Biden wears a blue tie. They're both part of the same hypocrisy. Nancy Pelosi, Paul Pelosi, Donald Trump, Marla Maples, all his other wives, his dead wife, his first wife, they were all members of the cult. You know, like Jeffrey Epstein was, like Noam Chomsky and Woody Allen are, like they still are. Noam Chomsky is a member of the cult and probably parties with Jeffrey Epstein because I don't think Jeffrey's dead. Probably parties like it's 1999, right? Don't you think? All right, well, that's my video for today, is that voting in any kind of an election is a cult ritual of obedience. Pledging your allegiance to a fake country or a Hunger Game district is a obedience ritual. Standing for allegiance or the national anthem and placing your hand over your heart is a obedience ritual. Getting excited about the Olympic sports and games That makes you Caitlyn Jenner. That's what Caitlyn Jenner is, right? Bruce Jenner won a gold medal in Montreal, Canada, and he wears stilettos today. That shows you how perverted the Olympics is. They're all on a boatload of drugs. National pride, gay pride, LBGT, patriotism, Rainbow Coalition, those are all cult obedience rituals. Anybody that gets behind Bernie Sanders or wants to help out Ron DeSantis or join MAGA has lost their mind. They've been integrated into the fabric of society and they're heavily augmented. And they're going off to a FEMA camp, which we are labeled as a Donald Trump Freedom City, Kamala Harris Liberty City, or here in California, we call them California Forever cities. The guests check in, but they never leave. And the LDS Mormons and the Buddhists and the Church of Scientology and the Holy Roman Catholic Church, we are one. They're all exactly the same. There's not a millimeter's worth of difference between Joel Osteen's church or or Jim Baker and Tammy Faye. They're all looking for money and they all want to vaccinate you and tether you to the cloud in a post-humanity climate agenda, pandemic, total control, warfare domain horizon. And I'm going to finish on these most historic words. Everyone who is a paid member of this channel should know and does know Netcentric cognitive neuroscience electronic warfare. That's the name of the game. That's the game that's being played. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do like and subscribe. Share my videos because I am heavily shadow banned. Take care now. We'll talk in the lobby. I've got some beluga caviar and some Dom Perignon